So these Mishnayot, as we're going through the 7th and 8th chapters, are moving in a chain-like motion from subject to subject. I mean, they are always dealing with language, but they're moving from subject to subject. And the 7th chapter closed with a time interval. Someone swears that his wife shouldn't have any benefit from him until Pesach. And that Mishnah, or the introduction of time, then raises a whole set of questions, which are then dealt with in the 8th chapter. And the 8th chapter is, in fact, the last chapter before we get into questions of how to release vows. So the 8th chapter is the last chapter about language, at least language of swearing. And then before the 9th chapter starts, we're dealing with how we get out of vows rather than how we keep vows. But it's going to focus on these questions of timing. And it begins, Kunam yain sheni toem hayom. Kunam, that is to say, this shall be a korban, a sacrifice, i.e., I can't use it. Yain she'eni toem hayom. If I taste wine today. So he swears he won't taste wine today. Hayom. So he's only forbidden until dark. So we're going to follow the principle that the halacha in Nedarim goes according to Lashon B'nei Adam. It goes according to, in the words of Maimonides. So in other words, it goes according to the way people use language, and that is to say that the new day begins when it gets dark. So he's only forbidden until dark. What if he says Shabbat zo? Now, Shabbat, by the way, in the Mishnah means week. A Shabbat means a week. So when he says Shabbat zo, he means this week. Shabbat, I swear I won't drink wine this week. Asur b'chol Shabbat. So that means he's forbidden for the whole week. And then, tantalizingly, the Mishnah continues, V'Shabbat she'avra, and the Shabbat that passes. Now, the Kaufman manuscript actually has a correction here, which almost all of the commentators accept in, so to speak, semantic terms. Someone's crossed out she'avra and has written in li she'avar, the Shabbat that is to come. The Shabbat that is to come. And now we're using Shabbat in the sense the day of Shabbat, not the week. And the Mishnah seems to be saying that he's forbidden for the whole week and he's forbidden for the Shabbat which is to come. In other words, the Shabbat belongs to the week before it. It doesn't belong to the week after it. So when someone says, I swear, I'm not going to taste wine all week, that includes the Shabbat at the end of the week. The Shabbat at the end of the week is included. Now, that doesn't necessarily work for other time intervals. So if he says, Chodesh, this month, Asur b'chol Chodesh, he's forbidden for the whole of that month. V'rosh Chodesh lahaba. But Rosh Chodesh goes into the next month. So again, we're dealing with kind of the way people normally do things. So people seem to assume that Shabbat comes at the end of the week. It belongs to the week that passed. But Rosh Chodesh belongs to the month that comes. Even if, by the way, it's a 2-day Rosh Chodesh. And we know that the first day of a 2-day Rosh Chodesh in calendar terms is the 29th of the previous month. But is the 30th of the previous month. But we're not going to get into exact calendar definitions. We're going to go and get into the way people use language. And when they say Rosh Chodesh, Adar, they mean part of Adar, even if actually it's a 2-day Rosh Chodesh. And the first day of the Rosh Chodesh is actually still part of Shvat. And the same goes for the year, by the way. He says, Shanazo, this year, Asu b'chol hashana. If he swears not to drink wine all year, he's forbidden for the whole year. But the Rosh Hashanah she'atid lavo, but the Rosh Hashanah belongs to the next year, because everybody assumes Rosh Hashanah belongs to the kind of the year that follows it, not the year that it completes. So we've got these Rosh Chodesh and Rosh Hashanah are different. But now let's go back to the whole Shabbat question. Let's just go back to Shabbat a second. Shavua zeh, this week. Now, when the Mishnah talks about Shavua zeh in time terms, they're talking about, at least in this context, we're talking about not 7 days, but 7 years. We're talking about the 7-year Shemitah cycle. By the way, it's referred to in the parsha in Tanakh, in the parsha of Vayetze. Lavan says to Yaakov, fulfill me this another 7, but he means another 7 years. Pretty sure he means another 7 years. So in this case, the Shavua Zeh means 7 years. Asur b'chol hashavua, he's forbidden for all those 7 years. But ushveit she'avra, but the 7th year, that is the sabbatical year, that is the one that passes, and we have exactly the same correction in the manuscript. Someone's crossed out she'avra and says and put in li she'avar, that is to come. In other words, the 7th year belongs to the end of the cycle, not the beginning of the cycle. So when he makes this vow, he won't drink wine for the whole of the 7-year cycle. That includes the Shvi'it, the sabbatical year at the end. If he's used this kind of language, Hayom, Shabbat Zor, and so on. But if he just says, Yom Echad, I swear I'm not going to drink wine for 1 day. Shabbat Achat, I'm not going to drink wine for 1 Shabbat, that is 1 week. Chodesh Echad, 1 month. Shana Achat, 1 year. Shavua Echad, 1 set of sabbatical years. Asur Miyom Layom, he's forbidden from day to day, i.e. we count the interval of 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 7 years, from the day to the days. We count exactly. And similarly, if he says, Ad ha-Pesach, until Pesach, Asur ad sheyagia. If he swears on he's not going to drink wine until Pesach, he can't drink it until Pesach arrives. If he says, Ad sheyehei Pesach, very interesting twist here. The Mishnah assumes that he means until Pesach has gone. Ad sheyehei Pesach, until it is Pesach, assumes that we're including the whole of Pesach. So he can't drink until Pesach goes. Asur ad sheyetze. And the same ad lifnei Pesach, until before Pesach, Rabbi Meir omer asur ad sheyagia. If he says until before Pesach, Rabbi Meir says he's forbidden until it arrives, and Rabbi Yossi says he's forbidden until it's completed. Rabbi Yossi omer asur ad sheyetze. And we're going to find a general rule, actually. Ata katsir, ata batzir, ata masik, until the grain harvest, until the grape harvest, until the olive harvest. Eino asur eila ad sheyagia. He's only forbidden until it arrives. Zeh haklal, this is the general rule. Kol she'zmano kavua. So if he's got a fixed time, ve omer ad sheyagia, and he says until it arrives, Asur ad sheyagia, he's forbidden until it arrives. If he says ad sheyehei, until it is, Asur ad sheyetze, he's really forbidden until it leaves. So if you use the expression is, that you essentially you are connecting your vow with the existence of that festival, and your vow isn't, if you like, completed until the festival goes away. But if the time is not fixed, V'chol she'ein zmano kavua, bein she'amar ad she'yahei, bein she'amar ad she'yagia, einenu asur ela ad she'yagia. But if there's no fixed time, whether he says until it is or whether he says until it arrives, he's only forbidden until it arrives.